You're standing in front of a floor-to-ceiling window on the 42nd floor of a glass tower in downtown Chicago. The reflection looking back at you is perfect. A three-piece charcoal suit that costs more than a mid-sized sedan. A watch that keeps time with the precision of a heartbeat. At 38, you are the youngest senior partner in the history of Miller & Associates. You are the man people call when their world is ending. You don't just defend clients, you erase their mistakes. You've spent 15 years learning how to manipulate the truth, how to find the one loose thread in a prosecution's case, and pull until the whole garment unravels. You've always lived by a simple rule. The law isn't about morality. It's about the rules of the game, and you're the best player in the city. It's 11:45 p.m. You're driving home from a celebration dinner. You've just successfully defended a pharmaceutical executive accused of racketeering. You've had 3 scotches, maybe 4. You feel invincible. The rain is coming down in sheets, blurring the lights of the cars going the other way. You're checking a celebratory email on your phone, steering with one hand, doing 55 and a 35. You never saw him. There's a sickening thud. Not a metallic crunch, but a soft, heavy impact that vibrates through the steering column and into your bones. Your car jolts. You slam on the brakes. Your Mercedes slides across the slick asphalt. Silence rushes back into the cabin, broken only by the rhythmic ticking of the windshield wipers. You sit there for 60 seconds. Your heart isn't beating, it's hammering against your ribs. You look in the rearview mirror. In the dim glow of a flickering streetlight, you see a dark shape crumpled on the wet pavement. You get out. The cold rain soaks through your expensive wool coat instantly. You walk back. It's a man, maybe 60, a bike messenger, judging by the mangled aluminum bike frame 10 feet away. He isn't moving. You kneel down, your hands shaking so violently you can barely find his neck. No pulse. There's a pool of dark liquid spreading through the rainwater, turning the street into an oil slick of blood. If you call 911, your life ends. The scotch on your breath, the phone in your hand, the speed on your odometer, it's vehicular manslaughter. You'll lose the partnership. You'll lose the license. You'll spend the next 8 to 12 years in a cell with the same men you've spent your career looking down upon. You look up and down the street. It's an industrial district. No cameras on the old brick warehouses. No witnesses. Just the rain and the dead man. You don't think. You react. You spent 15 years cleaning up messes, and now you have to clean up your own. You get back in the car. You drive away. The next 48 hours are silent. You drive the car to a private garage in Indiana, a place owned by a man who owes you his freedom. You tell him you hit a deer. You pay him $10,000 in cash to replace the bumper, the hood, and the headlight, and to crush the old parts into scrap metal. You wake up the next day and see the news. Hit and run suspect arrested in death of local messenger. You click the link. They have a man in custody. Elias Thorne, age 52. He's a homeless veteran who frequently slept in the alleyway near the crash site. The police found him 2 blocks away on the night of the accident. He was wearing a dark jacket with a tear in the sleeve. They found a piece of glass in his pocket that they claim matches a broken headlight. He was intoxicated. He has a history of petty theft and public disturbance. He's the perfect scapegoat. The police wanted to win, and Elias Thorne was an easy target. He doesn't have an alibi. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have a voice. You feel a wave of relief so intense it makes you nauseous. You're safe. The system is doing what it always does, grinding up the weak to protect the structure. The phone on your desk rings. It's the chief public defender, Sarah Jenkins. You've known her since law school. She sounds exhausted. "Hey," she says, "I've got a conflict of interest in a high-profile hit and run. My office can't take it because the victim's brother works for us. The judge is looking for a pro bono appointment. We need someone who can take on the district attorney." Your throat is dry. What's the case? The messenger death. Elias Thorne. The city is screaming for blood, and the DA is pushing for the max. I know you're busy, but this guy is getting hit hard. Will you take it? You should say no. You should hang up and move to another country. But your mind is already working 3 steps ahead. If you take the case, you control the defense. You can ensure that no new evidence ever points toward charcoal Mercedes. You can steer the ship. If someone else defends him, they might find a witness you missed. They might look at the traffic cameras 3 blocks away that you didn't know existed. If you are his lawyer, you're the only person who can truly keep the secret. I'll take it, you say. The first time you meet Elias in the jailhouse visiting room, you expect to see a monster. Instead, you see a man who looks like a ghost. His eyes are milky, his hands are calloused, and he smells like cheap tobacco and despair. I didn't do it, he whispers. His voice is a raspy tremor. I was sleeping. I heard the hit. I wanted to help, but I got scared. I saw the blood and I ran. I found a piece of glass on the ground. I thought it was pretty. I didn't know. You sit across from him in your $5,000 suit, holding a gold-plated pen. You are looking at the man whose life you stole. You are his only hope, and you are his executioner. Elias, you say, your voice smooth and rehearsed. The evidence is difficult. We have the glass. We have your presence at the scene. We have your record. But I didn't do it, he repeats. Tears well up in his eyes. You gotta believe me. You can see the truth, right? You look down at your legal pad. You've never felt more like a hollowed-out shell. The truth doesn't matter in a courtroom. Only what we can prove. The trial begins 3 months later. It is a media circus. The prosecution is led by Mark Vance, a shark who wants your job. He's aggressive. He lays out the case with surgical precision. He shows the photos of the victim. He plays the 911 calls from neighbors who heard the impact. He points at Elias and calls him a predator of the shadows, who took a life and walked away without a second thought. Every word Vance speaks is a description of you. You stand up to cross-examine the lead detective. This is where you usually shine. This is where you tear the police work apart. You know exactly where the holes are. You know the detective didn't check the timing of the streetlights. You know he didn't pull the GPS data from all the cars in the area. You could win this. You could point the jury toward a mystery vehicle. You could create reasonable doubt in 10 minutes. But if you do, the police will start looking again. They'll reopen the file. They'll look for that mystery vehicle. And eventually, they'll find the Indiana garage. They'll find the scrubbed GPS logs on your Mercedes. To save Elias is to destroy yourself. So, you pull your punches. You ask the questions, but you don't push for the answers. You let the detective off the hook. You accidentally forget to file a motion to suppress the glass evidence. You act the part of a brilliant lawyer who is simply struggling with a guilty client. You watch Elias from the corner of your eye. He looks at you with such intense, misplaced faith. He thinks you're fighting for him. Every time you sit down after a weak cross-examination, he whispers, "Thank you." It's the most excruciating torture you've ever endured. The trial reaches its peak on a sweltering Tuesday in July. The courtroom is packed. The air is thick with the scent of old wood and anxiety. Mark Vance gives a closing argument that is a masterpiece of righteous fury. He talks about the sanctity of life. He talks about how Elias Thorne represents a failure of society that must be corrected with a sentence of 20 years. Then, it's your turn. You walk to the center of the well. You look at the 12 jurors. You see a teacher, a mechanic, a retired nurse. They're looking to you to tell them a story they can believe. You have 2 scripts in your head. The first script is the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, Elias Thorne is innocent. I know this because I am the one who killed that messenger. I'm the one who drove away. Look at my hands. They're stained with the blood you're trying to pin on this man. The second script is the lie. You look at Elias. He's leaning forward, his eyes wide, gripping the edge of the table. He believes in the law. He believes in you. You clear your throat. Your voice is steady, but your soul is screaming. The prosecution wants you to see a monster. You begin. They want you to see a man who had nothing to lose. And while the evidence is substantial, I ask you to consider the character of a man who has served his country. You give a mediocre speech. You focus on his military service rather than the lack of physical evidence. You make him sound like a sympathetic accident waiter rather than an innocent man. You are effectively conceding the guilt while asking for mercy. It is a betrayal of everything you ever stood for as a lawyer. You sit down. Elias leans over. That was real good, they'll see now. You can't look at him. You feel like you're going to vomit. The jury is out for 6 hours. Usually, a short deliberation is bad for the defense. You sit in the empty courtroom, the silence echoing the night of the crash. You think about your family. You think about Elias's family. You think about the reputation you built. You think about what 20 years in prison would look like, what that would do to you. You realize that you didn't just kill a messenger. You killed the man you were supposed to be. The buzzer sounds. The jury is back. Elias is brought in. He's shaking. He reaches out and touches your sleeve. Whatever happens, you tried. Thank you for not giving up on me. You want to scream? You want to tell him to hit you? To spit on you? Anything but his gratitude. Please rise, the bailiff says. The foreperson stands up. She's the retired nurse. She won't look at the defense table. In the matter of the people versus Elias Thorne, on the charge of vehicular manslaughter, how do you find? We find the defendant guilty. Elias collapses into his chair. A low, wounded animal sound escapes his throat. He puts his head in his hands and sobs. You stand there, frozen. You are free. The case is closed. The law has spoken. An innocent man is going to spend the rest of his life in a concrete box for your sin, and the world will move on. You've won the biggest case of your life. You've successfully defended yourself by prosecuting an innocent man. 6 months later, you're back in your office. You've been promoted to managing partner. Your billable rate has gone up. You're a hero in the legal community, the man who took a hopeless pro bono case and gave it his all, even if he lost. But you don't sleep anymore. You sold the Mercedes. You bought a boring SUV, but you can't drive it over 30 miles per hour. You take the bus most days, staring at the people on the platform, wondering which one of them is next. You visit Elias once at the state penitentiary. You told yourself it was out of professional duty, but it was really to see if you could still feel anything. He's aged 10 years and 6 months. His spirit is gone. He sits behind a glass and looks at you, not with anger, but with a strange, hollowed-out pity. You tell him you are sorry for letting him down. You didn't let me down, he says. I guess the world just works how it works. You leave the prison and stand in the parking lot. The sun is shining, but you feel cold. You realize that you didn't escape. You're in a prison, too. Your prison has mahogany desks, silk ties, and a view of the lake, but the walls are just as thick. You check your phone. A new email. A high-profile client needs a mess cleaned up. A hit and run, ironically, a politician's son. You look at the reflection in your phone screen. The suit is still perfect. The watch is still precise. But the eyes are the same as the ones you saw in that rainy gutter. You pick up the phone. This is Miller, you say. Tell him not to worry. I'll make it all go away. You hang up and stare at the city. You are the lawyer who committed the crime. You're the man who won the game. And you will spend every second of the rest of your life wishing you had lost.